Oh my God, it has become so outraged. Today, I saw the news, the left-leaning media have been attacking the lawyers of President Trump after the press conference. Now they go after the medical record of Giuliani. Only a few days ago, the death threats, harassments have been made toward the two canvassers in the state of Michigan just because they refused to sign off the recounts.
Two GOP members of the Wayne County, Michigan Board of Canvassers say they were bullied and intimidated into voting to certify the county's election results for Joe Biden there. Now, their initial concern was the fact that voting totals couldn't be reconciled in 70% of absentee counting precincts in Detroit. Now, Democrats viciously attacked and threatened the GOP canvassers over their concerns, even calling them racist. Well, today, despite all of that intimidation, Monica Palmer and Bill Hartman rescinded their votes and they joined the Ingram Angle exclusively. Thank you both for being here and having the courage to speak out. I want all our viewers to see how you both were treated during this process. Watch.
Stink. The stain of racism that you, William Hartman, and Monica Palmer have just covered yourself in is going to follow you throughout history. Your grandchildren are going to think of you like Bull Connor or George Wallace. And Lord knows, when you go to meet your maker, your soul is going to be very, very warm.
He's unhinged. Monica, this is just the kind of harassment that you faced after your initial vote. He's a fairly prominent business person. What have you experienced since?
It's continued. He's used his social media platform to repeatedly dox me, post my phone number, my home address, my email address, and encourage people to stop by my house and share their anger with me.
Are you kidding me? Frankly, put your life in danger. That's what he's doing. And Bill, have any of your critics looked into any of your concerns over the vote totals in Detroit that were not, in your view, adding up?
Yes, they have. We've had some other people come along and look into those things. And normally when we get, when we're at the meeting, we get what's called an over-under report. And we didn't get that report this year or this time. Instead, we were given it orally and we had to record everything by hand.
Well, the Washington Post is reporting tonight that one of the two Republican members of the four-member Michigan canvassing board, Norman Schinkel, said that he's leaning toward asking for a delay in the certification for the state vote, calling for an audit. Now, the board is scheduled to vote, I guess, Monday, guys. So I do think with all the potential problems, he said, if any of them are true, an audit is appropriate. Monica, tell us how important that news is, breaking news tonight, about accountability and transparency. It's starting to resonate with other officials in Michigan, it looks like.
Yeah, it's absolutely needed. The purpose of the canvass is to make sure every legal vote is counted and tallied right, that you have complete and accurate documentation. And when you have a precinct that's unbalanced without an explanation, that doesn't satisfy the requirement. And that is why we initially voted no for certification. After some deliberation with Vice Chair Kinlock, he offered an audit for our unbalanced precincts. An audit, comprehensive, should be able to dig down and find the explanation of why the number of voters doesn't match the number of ballots cast.
What the hell has this country really become? To the Democrats, yes, I want to make this video to the Democratic parties of you guys, okay, from upper levels to the lower level. We don't want to have a country with only monopoly of one party. It doesn't matter if it is Democratic Party or Republican Party. This country needs you guys. But November 14, when hundreds of thousands of Americans came from all walks of life, from different states, how peaceful they entirely were for the entire day. Have you ever seen on just a weekend how peaceful they participate. And when the night falls, your associates come down, beating up, chasing down the demonstrators. And with my political science degree, with also my political economy, let me tell you this. First, you guys are just a weak party, from leadership down to the associates. And let me tell you why. Party, you look at its leadership in Washington. Speaker Pelosi, she doesn't even have a stance. The outcome, the victory that you guys are having for the lower house shows how horribly you have failed. After enormous money spent funding, even after the historic election fraud and organized crime that you have done to the country. And guess what? Look at the outcome of election. What does it tell you? Even California, you are losing quite many congressional seats. American people don't like you. You are losing horribly. What can you do with this victory if you don't change before it is too late? So let me console you and save you. But you have to make it clear you should be Socialist Party or actual Democratic Party. We'll get to the bottom of this. This organized crime, I'm talking about election fraud. This is unacceptable for the America. I'm telling you, it's very damaging for your party. And again, the country needs you guys. We need a true value, respectable Democratic Party for this country. And you guys are not. You guys have lost. House Speaker Pelosi doesn't know what she is doing. You have to know that. When you look at the quality of a leadership, what are you looking at? How loud she talks? Or how great she has performed? What she has done? She is a weak woman. And here, I don't want to even mention about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez or her associates, little group of gangsters from socialists and all the stupidity at all. I'm talking about the leadership. It's time for you to step up and take control of your party, Democratic Party, just like entire four, nothing more. I'm sorry. That's the second thing I'm talking about. Democratic Party nowadays is just a violent party. Yes, not all of you participated in violence, but tolerating and even using violence as the only way you guys think you guys can win is not acceptable. A Democratic Party has to be more democratic, not this. Utilizing violence as political tool. This is very low, very dirty, and it's time for you to wake up. Saturday, hundreds, thousands of the Americans from all over, morning to the evening, how peaceful that is. But the night falls. You look at those images, the Antifa, Black Lives Matter came out, and that's when violence started again. You guys are a party of violence. But the problem is not your associates. The problem is your party who are even raising the voice to support them. You guys are just sham shit. And I'm not accusing.
What I don't want to hear is for our constituents to be told to be civil, not to be reactionary, to be told that looting doesn't solve anything. And, you know, it does make me wonder and ask the question why looting bothers people so much.
And how stupid that is.
I want to breathe!
We stand at a critical point in history. Give black people their rights, or we will burn this country to ashes.
When Black Lives Matter started, during the Obama administration, it has happened throughout the history. You were against the fight to abolish slavery. and you shot Abraham Lincoln, the founding father of the Republican Party, to death. You were KKK, the true nationalist white supremacists. Now you turn around and you act like you are the protection of the African Americans during the civil rights movements, the era of the Vietnam War, and then Iraq War. You guys did the same thing, breaking, burning, looting, even shooting the police. And recently, it happened when people just simply selected a new president, Donald J. Trump. This only shows you guys are just a weak party.
And if you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome anymore, anywhere.
There is a lot in that moment, to say the very least. AB, you start this one, us off with this one. That is some loaded rhetoric from a public official.
Maxine Waters is poised to take over one of the most important positions in the separate and co-equal branch of government as chairman of the Financial Services Committee in the House. She is doing everything she can to prevent her own promotion. This is beyond overreach. It is so outrageous.
The entire party go downhill together like this. Of course, we will not go down with you guys. This country won't go down with you guys.
I wanted to talk about the unhinged violence of leftist agitators in a number of Democrat-run cities from Minneapolis to Seattle to Kenosha. Such as Portland, the violence has raged for 3 months, with far-left thugs from Antifa and Black Lives Matter breaking the law with impunity. The bulk of the media has either ignored the mayhem or, worse, attempted to whitewash lawless thuggery like throwing fireworks, rocks and bottles at officers protecting a courthouse as some form of social justice activism. In Kenosha, we saw businesses that were looted and burnt to the ground, while government buildings, including a library, were badly damaged. Even a church with a massive marquee that read Black Lives Matter was not spared. Among the injured was this elderly, unarmed man who was just trying to protect a store from rioters. This is what happened next. That vision was so disturbing, we haven't brought you the worst of it. That 71-year-old man was hit with a bottle, he was punched, unconscious, and left with a broken jaw and other injuries. In Democrat cities and Democrat states, we have seen brazen acts of violence, arson, looting, and property damage by leftist agitators, all captured on video, but receiving scant media coverage from left-leaning media outlets, including CNN, ABC, MSNBC, Washington Post, New York Times, NBC, Guardian, the lot of them. Now, one can imagine the saturation coverage if Trump supporters were setting up their own autonomous zone in Republican heartland or engaging in daily acts of politically motivated violence. We saw more politically motivated violence this time in the nation's capital immediately after the Republican National Convention. Attendees trying to walk back to their hotel were monstered. This is Kentucky Senator Rand Paul and his wife.
You have to wake up. You have to wake up. This country needs you, but not in that tendency. This country never wants monopoly in any industry for this country. You want to enjoy this opportunity? You want to utilize this opportunity or not? It is your choice.
This is Army combat veteran Brian Mast, who is in Congress now, but he lost both his legs serving his country. But that didn't stop him copying absolute abuse and venom like everybody else trying to get back to their hotel. Even a little old lady crossing the street wasn't safe. Even African-American Democrat Vernon Jones needed police protection to save him from the mob because he's pro-Trump. And just because the peaceful protesters couldn't get to Trump doesn't mean they didn't play out their sick fantasies of beheading him on DC's streets. These people are sick.
Better competition, not civil war.
Even people just trying to enjoy a meal are being monstered unless they submit by raising a fist, in this case for BLM. Like this lady refused to take part in the left's activism. That is the modern left.
The history will remember you guys before it's too late. You want to change or not? Now, the supporters, the followers, the associates under the weak, chaotic, confusing Democratic Party leadership not to be copycats. Whatever they say, you repeat and you believe. And that's who you are now. You guys can be misled so easily by those politicians. The Democratic Party leaders have been lying to you on so many things, on so many issues. And let me prove, okay? When you talk about police shooting or police abuse, you need to turn around and scream at your own logo, Democratic Party, why it happened in every Democratic stronghold, in every Democratic city. Why don't you ever question that? But you are questioning the justice system in America. There's no such thing. The term police is defined as the law enforcement of a local government. Local Democratic politicians from year after year, from election after election, rather than being so mad at the America, at the federal government that has nothing to do with any police arrest. The second proof is the inequality. When they talk about the 1%, let me tell you, who are the 1% that you believed in and getting so mad at? The richest billionaires in America, the 1%, you think that caused all the inequality are actually the donors of the Democratic Party because they make money out of you. They give back a little bit and they save their own butts. Who is the 1% in here? You are talking about Mark Zuckerberg? You are talking about Bill Gates?
CEO of the Google, Sundar Pichai? Or Michael Bloomberg, the king of New York, Michael Bloomberg? How about CEO of Twitter, Jack Dorsey? CEO of Amazon, Jeff Bezos?
Warren Buffett? You talking about George Soros? Oh my God. How could you easily believe the nonsense that the Democratic Party tried to make sense out of it just because they are great lawyers, great talkers? The 1% you think that caused all the inequality are actually the donors of the Democratic Party. You guys can be misled so easily. I just can't believe it. The 1%, you need to go after the Democratic Party. The third big lie, let me tell you, when they keep talking about inequality, look at which city that has most poverty, inequality, ghetto communities in America. It is the result of this weak party, man. They are the problem. They are the cause.
Sometimes you are not even sure if the Democratic parties really want to improve any inequality gap. If they even have intention to reduce poverty rate. Just look, every city that they run. And I apologize for such concern.
Why don't you look at the reality? But you look at the textbooks. You look at what you heard from schools, from those intellectuals. My God, poor people, crime rate, chaos, you name it. Why those things only occurred in your local liberal cities? But you still believe in it, that it is the result of the federal government, of whatever capitalism or capitalist economy, and you get mad at the country. You have a college degree, but you can easily trust that Donald J. Trump is racist. He is a white supremacist. His wife is an immigrant.
Idiot!
But you believe he hates immigrants, that he is racist. Are you out of your mind when his wife is a broken English immigrant like me? What the hell are you doing with your college degrees? Or whatever your intelligence you have by being misled? I understand that a lot of African Americans feeling that you are mistreated. Yes, there was a few cases that I felt I was discriminated. And I understand, just like the Asian people, with the same degrees, with the same skills maybe, but it's quite a bit harder. When you apply for a job, you feel that it's a lot harder for people to trust you. And I can feel such pain. That doesn't mean that I have to believe this country racist systematically. Nope.
Can I go back to, because I thought what you said was fascinating, because you called it bull when you said people can't, pull themselves up. Do you think that race plays a part in wealth distribution, or either a mindset that you can't
Today?
or cannot? Yeah.
No.
You don't?
No, I don't. Hey, you and I, we're proof. Why would race have anything to do with it? Put your mind to what you want to do and go for that. It's kind of like religion to me. It's a good excuse for not getting there.
Yeah.
They mislead you in school that people will respect you just because they want to be respected. That's not true either. Respect is something you have to earn. We have to earn, not expect from others. Let me tell you, when we feel that people don't respect us enough, we jump in and say they are racist. People have rights to love, to trust, or not, man. If your family members have such rights to you, if you have such rights to your own family members, why do you think the strangers have to love you, have to respect you? And if not, they are racist. Where the hell you guys have all of this ideology? Just because you are misled.
It's frustrating to me that people take race and they make it personal. You know what I mean? Like we're at a loss in this generation. If you look at it in the 80s, Archie Bunker was a stark racist. Stark. If you don't know who Archie Bunker is, look him up. All in the Family, great show. The Jeffersons, stark racist. Fred Sanford, stark racist. But you know what black people and white people did? They laughed. You watch 48 Hours with Eddie Murphy and Nick Nolte. Both of them hated each other because he was black and because he was white. You know what they did? They laughed.
But I asked you what the racial breakdown was of your audience. Do you remember this? And you told me The only black face you could see in the whole audience was your makeup artist. I believe that's what you said, and she was in the front row, right? A lot of white kids love rap.
Yes.
Explain that. What does that say to you? What's the message of it? What's the bigger picture of it?
I don't want to be bashed because I don't want to sound like I'm on the wrong if there is a side, but I thought that was clearly a message that there was no such thing as racism. That's what I thought that was.
You know, I said, and it's probably get me in trouble, but I said to some of my colleagues recently, so I know that it's an issue, but it seems like every single day on television I'm talking about race, and it's because of the news cycle, it's in the news, but sometimes I get so tired of talking about it, I want to just go, this is over, can we move on?
And if you talk about it, it exists.
Right.
Yeah. It's not like it exists and we refuse to talk about it, but making it a bigger issue than it needs to be is the problem we have.
And right now, we are in a society where we can't have a conversation because no one's willing to listen.
People are just shouting.
People are just
Whatever they
shouting.
think.
People are walking down the street, hashtagging everything, but no one's listening.
Using wrong examples to present an argument leads us nowhere forward. I understand the emotion and I respect my opposition, but when you go into the areas of making false charges and living in the past, you do not address the issues of the present.
And, you know, incarceration rates in America has been a problem, especially as opposed to minorities. And Roman delves into the issues around the legal system. Do you think we've made any headway in the
I think it's more important to make headway in our own house. By the time the system comes into play, the damage is done. They're not locking up 7-year-olds.
In the 1960s, 80+% of blacks were two-parent homes. Today, that is reversed completely the other way.
Blacks are convinced that the number one issue facing the country right now is social justice, racist white cops, discrimination, systemic racism, microaggression, whatever new word they come up with, and it's a bunch of nonsense.
Breaking, burning, looting, even shooting and killing. At the same time, crying, screaming, like we are the victims. Okay, let's talk about healthcare. When we talk about healthcare, we have to talk about two different points, okay? What healthcare system means, all right? And number two, how you can have free healthcare, rather than asking you why I don't have a healthcare, but how you can have free healthcare. Of course, you can continue to compare different countries where healthcare is so affordable or even free. But let me tell you this, nothing on earth is perfect. When you have so much in this hands, then you must have so less in this hand. And in reverse, when you have so much in this hand, you have to have so less in this hand. Let me tell you, healthcare, you are talking about what? You talk about doctors, you talk about nurses, you talk about pharmacists, and then you talk about medicines, you talk about hospitals, you talk about all the equipments, medical equipments. Every of those cost, and none of those is owned by the government. So first of all, if you are screaming and yelling that why I don't have health care, you talk about doctors, you talk about nurses, you talk about pharmacists, you talk about dentists, you talk about medical assistants, you talk about even secretaries working in hospitals. They are away from their family and you are expecting them to work for you for free. Or how about all the medicines? Companies have to invest so much of money, so much of time. You look at every medicines, every company try to make to see how long the process they have to go through, how much money they have to spend. And not many companies can really make it through. Every one of you have the right to make money and to earn for a living. Why these people are not allowed to make money or to make living? What are you expecting? And now the second question is the free healthcare. Should we ask, how can I have free healthcare rather than why I can't have free healthcare? Sometimes It's so difficult to understand. The Americans, especially the spoiled, privileged Americans, what they are thinking about really healthcare system in the US. All right? And let me tell you this. 2 ways, more than 1 way, more than even 2 ways for you to have free healthcare in America. We, the immigrant Americans, came here with complete empty hands without even speaking English. We grew up. My family and I came here almost like 30 years ago when I was still a kid. Of course, we grew up in poverty for years. Okay, of course, we went through a lot of hardship. Then we started having little incomes, and then we graduated. We went to work, especially when we all became married. So basically, we went through all the stages in life, from very poor and poor, and then below middle income before we can have our incomes. Let me tell you this, okay? There are more than 1 way. Let's say more than even 2 ways for you to have free health care. First of all, you must have the basic understanding what the free health care, free welfare system, what they were designed for. Public assistance, governmental assistance originally started in Europe. And they started out to support only 3 groups of people in the society that the taxpayers, the government, should take care. All right. First, we are talking about the lonely, poor, old people. And secondly, we're talking about orphans. And third, we're talking about handicapped people. That's the basic fundamental design of a healthcare and welfare system. And we're talking about almost 100 years ago. And could you believe that right now, in so many other countries, we don't even have this fundamental supports for those 3 group of people, vulnerable people. Could you believe that in those countries, including India, Afghanistan, even Brazil, Mexico, China, Vietnam, you name it, everywhere. And of course, so many African countries, just so many countries out there, don't even have this fundamental governmental supports for those people. And could you believe this? All of the homeless in those countries are the lonely old people, orphans, and handicapped people. Here, these people are well taken care of. Not only that, we also talking about poor people, including single parents, single moms. Governmental supports have been also for the poor people, the poor Americans here, including every homeless. Homeless people here, more than 90% of them are drug addict, alcoholic, convictions. In America here, as long as you are poor, all right, as long as you have no income, as long as you are single parents, even you are healthy, man and woman, you can have free health care for your kids, for your family. And the second way for you to have free health care, just going out there and find a damn serious job. Because jobs do provide health care for every workers. As long as you find the right one, okay? If not part-time for a short while, then you can find a serious one later. Even doesn't matter how much income you make. You can always have free health care from a serious job. Just going out there and find a job, please. That's how you can have free health care. That's the second way that you can have it. So either you're going to be poor, either you're going to be making income. Now, of course, I understand there's always something in between. That in anything in this universe, when you have a hot weather and cold weather, of course, you're going to have some weather that's called optimal point or equilibrium. In economy, between supplies and demand, they will always try to tend to meet somewhere at the middle. So sometimes you feel you like it, the equilibrium, we call it sometimes optimal point. But sometimes in healthcare system, we understand you are unsure which way you should go. All right, either a bit poorer in order to have healthcare, free healthcare, or you have to be a little bit beyond the uncomfortable point, just like you have a part-time job. I understand that then you don't have healthcare at the time, but that doesn't mean that you have to be with the part-time job for the rest of your life. 5 years ago, my wife, the kids, and I, we went to Vietnam. My older daughter became so sick during the Lunar New Year there, all right? We delivered in emergency, in rush to hospital. And could you believe that she was in a very serious situation? We were even afraid that she couldn't make it, all right? Her temperature was like 102 degrees Fahrenheit. She was almost like passed out. Basically, we went there. Of course, we had to wait quite a bit. But unbelievably, did you know how much we really paid for the entire visit? Less than $20. They give us a bunch of medicines like this. Even my wife is a pharmacist. She had no clue what the medicines that were about. Although she is a licensed pharmacist in America, she couldn't even tell any medicine in there, but like they get my daughter a whole bunch of medicines like this. And thanks God, they worked. Doctors are so great over there, all right? But the entire cost was only like $20. And let me tell you how the healthcare system over there worked. Years later, when we went back here already, there were so many articles. It was a big scandal from so many hospitals, from even Food and Drug Administration in Vietnam. We found that it was a big operations of fake medicines. Thanks God, our daughter's life was saved, but the quality control and the corruptions, not yet mentioning that even doctors and nurses there make so less money in compare here. Of course, when you talk about Cuba, Vietnam, a lot of countries, including Canada, some European countries that have cheaper, that have more affordable healthcare, but until you live there, then you know the disadvantages of such countries when they have universal healthcare or whatever, free healthcare for all, the cost of opportunity. Again, when you have so much in this hand, then you're going to have so less in this hand. Anything in this universe is just made that way. The question here, again, is you have to talk about the equilibrium. Do you know what the equilibrium really means? In any business, in any industry, in any area of the society, of even the universe, there's a so-called equilibrium, which is like a middle point of supplies and demands, all right, of hot and cold weather, of course, of healthcare, all right, or it's called optimal point. But sometimes you don't like it. Even in politics, you know that there's a left, there's a right, but there's also something in between. And we call swing voters. And sometimes even themselves feel uncomfortable because they don't know what to decide, who to trust. But you and me, who are clearly identified as conservatives or liberals, then we don't have to talk about uncertainty. And same thing in healthcare. Either you are falling below, you are in trouble, okay? You become handicapped, or you were orphans, or you became a lonely old person, lonely old and poor senior. Of course, the government's gonna take care of you. Or you have to find a serious job. And if you're talking about a serious job, but not a great income, then you can continue to find a different one, the better one. Or you might have to go back to college or vocational programs to get some skills out of something you like so that you can make more money in life, as well as healthcare that is provided by the company. But if the person He knows he doesn't have a health care and he thinks he is healthy. He doesn't care now. He just enjoy life all the way from year after year. He doesn't care about seriousness. Bam, until you become sick. And now you end up with a lot of medical bills. You get mad. Why almost all of the Americans in America have health care. We all have health care somehow, some way. Only a very small percentage. I'm not sure if it is even 10% of the uncertainty. People have to make choices. People have to, sometimes I just don't understand as a landlord. I have witnessed a lot of tenants who never care to have any saving like Asian Americans. It doesn't matter how poor we are. We always try to have savings in the bank because unlike Americans, right after the first month they lose their job, they don't have even money left to pay rent. Could you believe that? Almost like all of my tenants, it doesn't matter how young or old they are. As long as they stop working, the next month, they don't have money to pay for their rents. What kind of life is that? You want to rely too much on the government, on the society, on the system, whatever that is. And then you don't care to take care of yourself. You don't care about your future, even the short-term future. You work for years, but you don't have any saving left. One day you lose a job, you lose the place. You can't afford to pay rent right after the first month, you lose your job. And that is unacceptable. That is irresponsible to yourself. I know younger people, just like me myself, when I was younger, right? There was a point of time that I didn't have health care. Especially when you having a job, you have an income, and then you change the job, and then in between the time. But when I was a student, I had health care, not really free health care, but very affordable health care insurance. I only pay like $15 per month. There are so many programs, and I'm talking about during the years of 1990s, okay? I'm not talking about Obamacare at all. You just have to do some homework to find out what programs out there that you can have. But if you are just a lazy butt, there are so many programs out there that even you are not part of any vulnerable group of people, you can still have health insurance somehow, some way. Just get up your butt. Either find a job or at least doing some homework to get assistance out there. Can't just ignore, and then when it happens, you cry like a baby that why my doctor's bills or hospital bills are so high. Just because you never cared. I work for a law firm and I know very well. So many Canadians hope or dream one day they can come to America. Let me tell you why free healthcare system over there is not attractive enough. Even immigrants from Canada find every way to come here to the United States. When they convince you America is all bad, that we should hate, and now you do hate the entire America. It doesn't matter if you're talking about its history, its economy, its healthcare system, its environment, its immigration law, or its justice system. With all these success, achievements, we, as the Americans together, have succeeded. That the poor Americans can all have healthcare, free food stamp, free welfare, with so many public goods that so many other countries either don't have or rarely have. Free public parks. When you call 911, within only minutes, the police come down to you. You never have to drive a car on a broken road. From every library in every city, free schools for all the kids. Unlike so many other countries, you don't know how much the American people, businesses have been paying tax for all kinds of public goods that you have, but you can't even recognize. that you are enjoying. Poor people nowadays, even those who can buy and own a house, like some of my cousins, because their income is a little bit below 50 grand per year, $50,000 per year, they can still own a house while having free healthcare, even food stamps. What else you want?
Like many other communist refugees, my family and I came here from the communist socialists of Vietnam. Both of my father and father-in-law were imprisoned by the communists for 8 years, just because they were either the police or a soldier for the south of Vietnam during the Vietnam War. And we have more than enough with communism, the Marxists, between what they say and what they have done. Just like every other country. Again, we have had way more than enough.
Madam Speaker, Delegate Miras gave I think a very impassioned speech a couple of days ago with respect to the dangers and some of the concerns with respect to socialism. And the response he got was an interesting one, because the response was ultimately not a defense of socialism. The response ended up being more of a diatribe and an indictment of the United States and all of our previous sins. And it was amazing to me because as we heard the list of everything the United States is apparently responsible for, both in this country and across the world, there were certainly elements of truth to it. But I found it fascinating to hear that that was all followed up by "we fundamentally deny." Who exactly in the United States is fundamentally denying that the United States government treated African Americans badly? Who's fundamentally denying that the United States government treated Native Americans badly? Who is fundamentally denying that the United States has been involved in foreign interventions that it shouldn't be? Nobody's denying that. In fact, I would tell the delegate to make these accusations that if you want to look for regimes that fundamentally deny their past and current sins, I would encourage you to actually look at those regimes which have adopted the socialist philosophy. Because as we look at what was happening within the Soviet Union, we didn't see Pravda getting up there and actually doing a good editorial response to what Stalin was doing when he was actually massacring and starving out his own people. We don't see the press under Red China that was going and talking about the tens of millions of people that were dying under Mao's Great Leap Forward and Cultural Revolution. We see people being locked up in Cuba and Venezuela for being political dissenters. So while yes, while the United States does have things within our history that we can be ashamed of and that we should seek atonement for, the idea that we don't have a discussion or we don't have a press or we don't have an academia that is willing to actually call out those episodes in our history, and that we don't have people on both sides of the aisle that recognize those points of our history and seek to actually make atonement, is ridiculous. But that is very common in socialist regimes. The other thing that I thought was interesting is that socialism has become something of a caricature because of the way it's been represented to many people in this country by socialists. Delegate Carter did not actually describe what socialism was or whether it was a particular brand of socialism that he supported. He simply listed out a series of objectives. We want people to be free from want. We want people to have food. We want people to have clothes. We want people to have shelter. We want people to have health care. I've got news for everybody. We all want those things. The devil is in the details with respect to how do you actually intend to achieve those things. And as I look at socialism, and I will give you this much, socialism has done a really good job of rebranding itself, because every time it fails, it seeks to come out and say, well, that wasn't real socialism. But there is a common theme within that political philosophy, and that theme is the abolition of the private ownership of the means of production. That's the common theme throughout socialism. So if that's what you want, it's very simple. What it essentially means is that private companies don't exist when it comes to capital, don't exist when it comes to factories, don't exist when it comes to laboratories. We're going to allow the people or the government to run those institutions for us. And here's my question. Can we think of a socialist regime that has actually implemented this sort of central planning and government control over the economy that has actually produced the sorts of results or objectives that Delegate Carter has listed? I would suggest, Madam Speaker, that as we look at the various debates going on this floor, the true test of whether or not this socialism works as a political philosophy is not going to be found in my opposition to it or Delegate Carter's support of it. It's going to be found by what do people do that have lived under those regimes? What do those people do? What are the poor people in those regimes? What are the poor people across the world? What do they seek out? Do they seek out socialist regimes, or do they seek out free market economies? Because last time I checked, I don't have much of a recollection of American workers in this country running down to the south of Florida, making makeshift rafts and desperately trying to get to the socialist utopia of Cuba. I don't recall people in West Germany desperately risking life and limb to go over, under, or through the Berlin Wall in order to make it into the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. But I've got good news. Here in a free country, if you would like to live as a socialist, you are welcome to do so. You can get a bunch of your friends together, you can go get some property, and then you can go live on a commune. And guess what? I'm not going to try to stop you. I'll even try to lower your taxes. But you can't force me to go with you, and you can't force me to pay for it. And that is the true problem with socialism as it has been applied throughout history, no matter where it's attempted. It has always resulted in oppression, violence, and degradation. So much so that the people from those countries are desperately trying to get to this country. And so, Madam Speaker, I would just simply say the United States is not just a country of entrepreneurs, it's not just a country of scientists, of artisans. We are also ultimately a country of people that rebel against any sort of political philosophy which would seek to deprive us of our liberty.
Enough will never be enough. Of course, we can always have more public goods. But you have to know the cost. Think long and big. When you are a student, when you don't have income, when you don't own a car, when you don't own a house, and you trust these politicians to raise tax, to give them the money, and you feel good about it, just because you now don't make income yet. You don't have property to pay so much of property tax, like $10,000 per year in tax. And you think you don't care. As the renters, you have to pay for those. Again, as the renters, you pay for those because I'm a landlord. I will pass every property tax increase to the renters. And I hate to do that. We hate to do that. We have no choice. You don't see it, that's fine. But you have to know, when you own a property, when you have to pay a lot more for the car license tap, when you start working, making incomes, you have to think beyond the box that you are in. You have to be less emotional, if not stupid. Because you are the ones gonna pay all the taxes, if not sooner than later. And unfortunately, you are just so easily misled by those same politicians. Tell me where the Democratic Party can solve the inequality, injustice, crime rate, even with the pandemic. Yeah, there are Republican states that have high spread as well, but they don't have that many deaths. That's the problem. Think out of the box. Think beyond yourself, or at least think beyond the days that you have today. You need to go after the Democratic Party. They are the problem. They are the cause. Free stuff won't simply come for free. It's come at your own cost, at your own expenses. And when you actually work, but you are not allowed to earn, that's when you feel it is too late, because you caused it. You voted for it. Even homeless Americans in America have a better life. Welfare system, protections, free healthcare than other countries that the homeless or the poor people don't have. Just because you are Americans, just because you were born here, you don't see all of this. Every different people from different country want to come here, but you hate it. You hate it, again, from its history, economy, healthcare system, justice system. You hate everything we stand for, everything we have. You are unhappy. Every season has its own beauty, but you rather say every season sucks. That's how you have a happy life. Good luck. Now, African Americans, you think you are unlucky? Let's imagine that you have a chance to go back to Africa. I'm bugging you. You don't want to go back to any African country, man. Oh my God. Even trees, fish, clams, and crabs in America have better life and protections than human beings out there. But you just don't know. Here, when you get mad, you can scream at the government. So many other countries you don't have. You can't. We don't want to go back to any Asian country to live there anymore. That's the reality. And you still hate the America. What else you want? You burn this country down for what? To become what? Do you have an idea? Let me tell you this. Every Marxist follower doesn't have a clue what they are doing. They don't even have a clue what they are talking about. The idealists. You don't have to be the idealists. But to be a realist, to recognize the social benefits, the public goods that we have all over, provided by the governments or the capitalists, including free Yahoo, free Gmail account, free Google search reader, TikTok, you name it. All kind of public goods that we have in this society, you never appreciate, but you are enjoying. Government, according to political scientist Menker Olson, it is just stationary bandit. Government, big government, it's just a giant blood-sucking insect that you think they can solve your problems. Good luck. Their ideals, their political ideals go first, not yours. You think they are there for you? Just like you and me, we are here on earth for our own benefits and ideals. They are there for theirs, not yours. They use you, they use us, they use poverty, they use violence, they use chaos, they use problems, troubles everywhere to promote their agendas. When a bad person shoots good people, instead of being mad at bad people, they are mad at good people who have nothing to do with the shooting, but being blamed. That's politicians. That's Democratic Party nowadays. They are not the solutions. They are the problems themselves. And if they don't change, more people will only walk away, except a few of you guys. You look at the way they are leading. They are lying. They want power so badly. It's just every 4 years, man. Election. You never want all or nothing. In any business, you never want to put every egg in just one basket. But you guys do. And that's the problem. When you lose the entire thing. When you are going down, you guys are going down all the way. If you don't stop, drop, and change, but continue to do the same and hope for a different result, you are done. That's true. That when you think every season sucks, you are not wrong. That's true. That when you talk about a history of any country, when you're talking about a healthcare system, an education system, or even welfare system, economy of any country, you will always see improvements in each. The conclusion for this video is for the Democratic Party and associates to think twice about what you guys are doing, to think twice about even what you guys are talking about. Life is too short to think every season sucks. Life is too short for not thinking that every season has its own beauty that you can enjoy. It doesn't matter where you live, Brazil or China. While you live in the United States of America. We are the color of people, and we know better than anyone else. We are more racist than any color. We are not racist as the system.
How are we going to get rid of racism until...
Stop talking about it. I'm going to stop calling you a white man.
Yeah.
And I'm going to ask you to stop calling me a black man.
As a party, you think you are talking about morality when we only see evilness? From violence, breaking, looting, anger, madness that you have done throughout the history. It doesn't matter during a wartime or peacetime. That's what we have seen. And we are bugging you guys. America needs you. Stop asking what this country can do for you. Or at least stop living with hate, prejudice. We, the conservatives, don't want monopoly either. We don't want to run the entire country by just our own same group of people. We need opponents. We need a good counterpart, Democratic Party, with better morality, better cause, reputations, credibility, and good luck with your life. Good luck with what you do. Good luck with who you are associating with. Thank you.